these are the solutions to your study guide. If you look at number 1, you got 4x minus 6y equals 12. If you look right here, I have, actually not right there, excuse me. Down here at the bottom, I'm solving for y. So I subtract 4x from each side. I get negative 6y equals negative 4x plus 12. Divide by negative 6. I end up getting y equals 4 over 6 x minus 2, which simplifies to y equals 2/3 x minus 2. I'll graph it. I start off at negative 2. I go up 2 over 3, up 2 over 3, down 2 over 3, down 2 over 3. I make my line here. My slope is 2/3. 2/3. Y-intercept is negative 2. My x-intercept, one way is you can look at the graph after you've graphed it and see where it crosses your x-axis at. And we notice that it crosses at 3, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 0 will be my x-intercept. Or you can also plug in 0 for your y. And you get negative 6 times 0 is 0. 4x equals 12 divided by 4, you get 3. So where your x-intercept will always be where y equals 0. My domain here is negative infinity to positive infinity because my graph goes infinity to infinity. And my range is infinity to infinity as well because we're going to go down forever because it's a line, up forever because it's a line. And my graph is also increasing because you have a positive slope. Alright, we'll look at number 2. And we'll solve for y here. Look at the bottom down here. Subtract 4 from both sides. And then I end up with 2y plus 3x equals negative 4. I subtract 3x from both sides. End up with 2y equals negative 3x minus 4 divided by 2. I end up, remember you divide into both of them. I end up with y equals negative 3 over 2x minus 2. And then we're going to graph that. Start at negative 2. We go up 3 over 2. And it's negative, so we're going to go up. If we go up 3, we got to go to the negative side because it's negative over here, positive up, and negative down. And I can also go down 3 because it's a negative 3 as well. Go down 1, 2, 3, over 1, 2. If I go down 3, I got to go right 2 because I've already used my negative. I got to use my positive. I can keep going down 3 over 2. And then I can keep going up as well. Up 3 over 2. Up 3 over 2. Alright, my slope here is negative 3 over 2, which I get from my equation. My y-intercept is negative 2. My x-intercept, it's harder to see. This one would be a lot easier just to plug it in. I plug in 0 for my y value here. 2 times 0 is 0, so I got 3x plus 4 equals 0. I subtract 4 from each side. I get 3x equals negative 4 divided by 3. My x-intercept is negative 4 over 3, or negative 1 1/3. Okay, and my graph is still negative infinity to positive infinity because it goes on forever to the left and it goes on forever to the right. And my range is negative infinity to positive infinity as well. Or excuse me. My range is going to be positive infinity to negative infinity. Excuse me. Alright. And the graph is decreasing because it has a negative slope. My next question, I have 4 minus 5y is greater than 4. So I solve it for y here. Subtract 4 from both sides, I get 0. Divide by negative 5. When I divide by negative, it causes me to flip my inequality sign. And that's not equal to sign, I'm just pointing. Maybe I should draw an arrow for you. And instead of being greater than, it's now less than. So I'm going to graph this right quick. I start at 0. I draw me a dashed line or open line. Alright. And then I shade it below because it's less than. My slope is 0. I don't have any slope in my graph. It's flat. My y-intercept is 0 because I go across through 0 on my y-axis here. X-intercept, I do not have an X anywhere I cross the X-axis at. Explain my boundary line. It's an open line, and it's shaded below. Describe and support your solution and shading of the graph. Since I divided with a negative, I had to flip my sign. The line is open because it has a less than sign and shaded below. Name 2 points that are part of the graph. 0, -1, or 1, -1. And you can look at that. 0, -1 be right here, part of my shaded area. And 1, -1 would be right here in my shaded area. You can also plug those points in like we have learned before. Alright, it says name 2 points that are not part of the graph. 0, 1, and 1, 1. You can look on your graph, and you can also plug them in. Notice that these are not part of my graph. And I don't know what just happened. Let's go back. There we go. Alright, do the next equation. Solve for y here. I'm going to add 2 to both sides here. I got x plus 2, and I'm going to divide by 3. And end up with y is less than or equal to x over 3 plus 2/3. My slope is going to be 1/3 because there's a 1 in front of my x. My y-intercept is going to be 2/3. My x-intercept, I'll plug in 0 for my x value here. Excuse me, my y value. I get 0, and then I know that my x-intercept is going to be -2 here. Alright. If you look at this graph, I'm at 2/3. I'm at 2/3. I can go down 1 and over 3. Find this point. Notice it does cross right here at -2, 0. Alright. And that is my x-intercept. I can go up 1 and over 3, and that'll be right below 2. I can go up 1 and over 3. And notice that it's not exact because I'm starting at 2/3 here, so it's not going to be exact. I got lucky and had an x-intercept that was exact. And we know that we have a closed line here, and it's shaded below it because it's less than or equal to. I solved the equation for y. I have a solid line shaded below because I have it less than or equal to sign. Name points that are part of the graph. 0, 2/3 is part of the graph because it's my y-intercept, and my graph is solid and it's on my line. 1, 0. 1, 0 is right here. It's in my shaded area, and I could also plug it in, and it will be true statement. Name 2 points that are not a part of the graph. 0, 2 is up here, and 1, 2 is also above it as well. Okay, and I can look on my graph, and I can also plug it in. An electrician charges a flat fee of $10 for service fee plus $15 per hour for labor. Write an equation for the cost C after H hours. So my equation is going to be C equals 15H plus 10, because it's $15 per hour. $10 service fee. Always the service call is going to be your y-intercept here. And 15, if it says per hour, something changing, that's going to be my slope because it's a rate of change. So my slope is 15, my y-intercept is 10. When graphing the equation, x-axis will be the number of hours because that's what h represents. Alright, we know this will be h down here for my x-axis. Alright, when graphing the equation, the y-axis will represent the cost of the electrician's bill. Because that's what C represents, is what you're trying to find, how much the bill is going to cost after a certain amount of hours. What will be the total after 8 hours? If your graph was long enough, went all the way to 8. Ours isn't big enough, but so you can use in your calculator, you can plug in 8 for 8's the number of hours. You end up getting 15 times 8, which is 120, plus 10 is 130. So it's $130. What is the domain for the question in G here? So we know we plugged in 8, so we go from 0 hours to 8 hours. And we can write that interval notation 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. And we can also do an inequality notation or set notation like I have it set up right here. What is the range for question G here? You know, you start the y-intercept at 10 and you go to 130 would be your total cost after 8 hours. And your graph down here, I went up by a scale. I actually went up by a scale of 5 because I skipped. So I went up by a scale of $5. Start at 10. I go up 15. After 1 hour, 15, 2 hours, so I'm up by 30 here, and I keep going up by the same amount. Alright, and my scale for my x-axis was up every 1 hour. A bus company charges a flat rate of $10.25 in addition to $1.55 per mile. John has no more than $25 spent on a cab ride. Writing linear inequality for the cost of the cab ride C and the miles M he could ride. C is less than or equal to. Again, we know that $1.25 per mile, and we know that $10.25 your y-intercept. That's your rate of change. You'll use this if you're asked to find it. But right now we're just making a linear equation using C as y and M is the x value here. And we know it's less than or equal to because it says no more than. And no more than means you can spend up to that much, but no more than that much. So our slope is 1.5, 1.55. Our y-intercept is 10.25. And so I graphed the inequality. I started at $10.25 here. Every 1 hour, my scale here is I'm going up by ones. I just skipped some. I started at 10 because I don't have enough room on my graph here. And my scale's up by ones for the number of miles here. And so I go up every $1.55. Now you can use a calculator, set it up an equation for it, and get your points here. Or you can just add $1.55 to $10.25 and keep adding $1.55 every time you go up one. And you'll get your graph here. And we know it's going to be less than, so we're going to shade below our graph here. And it's going to keep going, and we have it shaded below. When graphing the inequality, x-axis represents the number of miles. When graphing the inequality, y-axis represents the cost of the cab ride. If I have $325 in the bank and I want to save at least $685, how long will it take me to save it at a 4.5% interest rate? So I use my formula here and I plug in $685 for the interest, simple interest. Plug in $325 for P and 0.045 for my percent because I moved my decimal twice. multiply 325 by 0.045, and I get 14.625. Then I divide it in my simple one-step equation, and I end up with 46.8. If we're looking at this as years, I know it doesn't say it, but we'll just call it years. It'll take 47 years to make at least $685. Now, if we're looking at the months, obviously we divide it by 12, and it would take almost, if we're, looking at it, and checking out with our months and stuff to see it, but right now we'll just call it years. Convert 52 pounds to ounces, so initial amount is 52 pounds. Conversion factor is 16 ounces to 1 pound. So I'm going, my unit plan would be ounces to pounds. I set it up 52 pounds over 1 times 16 ounces over 1 pound. It gives me 832 ounces and 52 pounds, and my response would be I get 852 ounces and 52 pounds. Okay, and the last one, convert 98 degrees Fahrenheit to Celsius. So I'll just plug in 98 to the one that I'm trying to find for Celsius. 98 minus 32 times 5/9 gives me 36.67.